Boyd Rice, recording artist, performer, and author, was appointed priest in the Church of Satan by the late Anton LaVey, a frequent visitor of Charles Manson, and friend and inspiration for the young Marilyn Manson. As a pioneer of noise music in the late 60s and 70s, Boyd has been known to uproot the status quo with radical and often uncomfortable propositions that has led to numerous debates with the religious right and earned a reputation as a social demiurge. Boyd, we're going to do a impromptu interview in which he'll present a chronology of his countercultural activity and speak of his relationship with archetypes that we have discussed: Satan, Lucifer, radical evil with capital E's and little e's. Quoting from a press release from Boyd's record label, Mute Records, he is described as chameleon par excellence. His various paradoxical incarnations include multimedia prankster and legit actor, Gnostic philosopher and camp culture aficionado, an uncompromising social Darwinist, Satanist spokesman, and self-proclaimed descendant of the bloodline of Jesus Christ. Boyd Rice is probably one of the only men alive to be on the first name terms with both Marilyn Manson and Charles Manson. Please welcome Boyd Rice. Check. So, what I wanted to first ask is, since the name of the fallen angel, whether it be Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, on and on, has been used or appropriated in many of these talks, I wanted to ask, is this the Satan that you grew to know or know now?
Well, Satan was really a minor figure early in the Bible. Lucifer's the fallen angel. But the Satan that the Church of Satan recognizes is just emblematic of the adversary. Just the total opposite of Judeo-Christian values. So we think Christians think are good values, we think they're terrible. But I'm not, Bob Larson calls me an apostate Satanist. I'm not a spokesman of the Church of Satan.
When did you withdraw from being spokesperson?
Well, after the death of Anton LaVey, he was a good friend of mine, but I've always been an Gnostic. I was a member of the Church of Satan. I've always been a Gnostic.
Well, I think we've spoken for many months now leading up to this, and so I might take a few things for granted. Can you, I know it's a large topic, but can you describe what the goals and or motivations are for the Church of Satan?
I believe that they just think that the world has been corrupted by Judeo-Christian values for 2,000 years. It's become unique, capacity, and it's lost sight of its true will. And that we should not see ourselves as being children of God. And we're an animal just like any other animal. Sometimes much worse than that.
And so the Church, of course, preaches the idea of free will, taken up by Ron's talk very concisely. And you've taken that to a certain extent or degree in your interventionist or prankster behavior over the years. And I was wondering if you could describe some of the more important or effective pranks that you were involved with through the ages.
I don't know, people are always asking that. I can never remember the good ones when it comes time to tell the story. This isn't a prank. I gave the famous ones. I gave a skin sheep's head for. On the nightly news, it was the first thing Walter Cronkite talked about.
Do you remember how he talked about it?
No, I didn't. I was the only person not to see it. Everybody I knew saw it and said, "Did you hear Walter Cronkite mention?"
So, well, give us a little backstory on this sheep's head.
It was just I always saw it in the supermarket. I thought, what possible reasonable use could you have for a skinned sheep's head? And it had the tongue coming out the side, it had the eyeballs and the sockets. And I always thought, the way I thought back then, it's like, I bet there's something funny I can do with
that. So maybe it's fair to say that Betty Ford was just at the right place at the right time, or the wrong and the wrong.
She was as close to me as you are, but she didn't see it. The Secret Service agent said that's not the kind of gift she
was. Were you incarcerated for this?
No, they threatened to take me out, tie me to a chair, and leave me in the desert.
The police?
Yeah, give me time to think about what I've done.
Well, as the president's wife, and you had a sheep's head under your coat, or you just had it under your arm?
I was carrying it. I was going to give it to her. People were lining up to give her roses, so I thought, I wish I had something.
Before we get to, hopefully you have another good prank story to tell us, but before we get into that, I'd like...
Usually my pranks are based on gamesmanship. They're usually something clever to change the elements of a person's world so they don't know what's going on. Giving a sheet to somebody does a rank higher in cleverness.
Can you give us a sense on what it was like when you had this relationship with Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan was gaining momentum, and it was a particular time and place? This was in San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was the general air, that general atmosphere in California in that moment that led to this kind of countercultural activity?
When I was involved?
Yes.
Well, I think, we found ourselves the most ultra-liberal city in the United States, perhaps on earth. And I didn't like it. It made me very reactionary. And Anton LaVey was the only person saying, you should hate people, they deserve your hate. And I'd grown up on this philosophy, and so I thought, wow, this is the only person who's been saying this since the 60s. And he started out, in the middle of the peace and love era. And yet he was saying, you should spite people who've done things against you. You should strike people if they strike you.
It seems like the orgiastic 60s that was rooted in the peace and love program generated or just symbiotically grew up together with these countercultural activities, and what Charlie Manson did in effect was take advantage of that atmosphere. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how did that pan out? Why was it important? Why is it important to consider the time and place that Charlie Manson kind of invented himself?
I think it gave him a unique opportunity. There was many false messiahs hanging around K-Dashers who were in Jerusalem at the time of Christ, and Manson was just in the right place at the right time. But he really was, if you don't remember the 60s, he really was a byproduct of that time. He really took some of the ideas that were in the air and took them to their logical conclusion, such as, I grew up in London Grove, California, and on the way to the shopping mall, I would see slogans painted around that said, "Kill the pigs," and SDS, and weapon. So there were people out there saying, you should kill the pigs. Everybody over 30 is a pig. So it's like the youth picked that up, they absorbed that in, you know, do you want a revolution, all that stuff. So they were right with that.
Were the pigs also part of a socioeconomic class?
Yeah.
So was
Rich
Hollywood,
and white people.
was Hollywood under critique from the youth that would spray paint these slogans?
Not then. I don't think back in the 60s everybody blamed the media for all the problems. I think now you have a lot more people saying the media is just corrupt. Back then it was just what you watched.
But these are the same pigs that that were referred to in the Tate murders when it was painted in blood.
Yeah,
correct. When and why did you start a conversation with Charles Manson?
Well, at the time, my favorite record I ever was his first album called Lie. And Black Flag was supposed to release some new recordings of his, and then they flaked out on it. So I sort of wrote to him and said, I'm in the music industry. If you're interested in getting these songs out, you know, I can hook you up with a deal. So we started writing back and forth. He said, you sound like a pretty good guy. Why don't you come over and try and get on my list?
And you did.
And I did. The guards told me I had a snowball's chance in hell. I said, there's no way you can get out of this nice list. But a couple months later, Manson wrote me and said, come on over.
And so what redeems Charles Manson as someone that any one person should be interested in? What sets him apart? Basically, by the standard of law, he was a criminal and a musician. So what more?
Well, he's a brilliant guy. He's fascinating. He's very talented. He's a little bit of a paranoid schizophrenic, obviously. Besides that, he's brilliant.
Yeah, it appears that way in his letters. I was wondering if you could explain, just taking this one response, and it was in fact your recommendation that to hook him into a response that I should bring up Abraxas. And he indeed responded, and this is the first he wrote. And if you could just read it and then explain to us what the hall was.
You will find Abraxas in the hall. Easy. Try it next. Well, he could mean two things. He's always talking about the hallways of politics. And he says he spent his entire life walking back and forth down hallways. The most of his life is lived in the hallway. So maybe he's identifying himself with Abraxas and saying that's where he came to know Abraxas, or maybe he's referring to this hall, because his nickname for me was Abraxas. So I'll call you Abraxas because you stick in two circles.
Can you explain Abraxas for those who are not familiar with it?
Abraxas is a Gnostic deity representing the balance between light and darkness, creative force and destructive force, or most people would say this would be.
You know, when Ron Jones was showing these slides of these interventions within the prison cell that limited one's pacing, I immediately thought of this because you mentioned that it was the one thing that he, I guess, had to do based on a kind of compulsion. Did he extend upon what the always of always were in terms of his behavior?
No, I think he just used it as like an analogy for the eternal, for truth or something.
Well, read this one. We've only spent an evening together, so we haven't really. I was wondering if you could decode that one since you know it best.
You know, whenever I tell my Charlie anecdotes, I sort of use a little Charlie voice. So Ross wanted me to do this. Let's see. You're no faker, a cat, a rat, big head, little brain.
It was a big ship, and your friend sank the Titanic. Let's see. They will shut you up if you get close, but you don't want to play dumb. Ding-a-ling, thing-bang. Easy, Nancy.
Well, is this generally how he writes?
Yeah.
In this way, is he a comedian?
Yeah, he's totally a comedian. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met. The last time I saw him, the guards were trying to put the handcuffs on him, and he kept cracking jokes and busting them up. And there were these two big burly guys bent over in pain with laughter. They were going, "Stop, Charlie! Stop! I can't breathe! I can't breathe!" I thought, God, he just like walked to the front of the prison telling jokes all the way and down the road. It's like if he ever got out, he could never go living in stand-up. There's that kind of mean humor that you understand. You know, you might not say these things about people yourself, but when somebody else says it, it's funny, you know.
Well, this wasn't a prank, but maybe it was, as you say, a mishap. But tell us about why you ended up with a bullet in the penitentiary where Charlie Manson was held in your meeting with him, and what happened.
Don't you ever have a bullet in your pocket? You kind of know it's in there, but you can't find it, and then you go through the metal detectors and It was one of those situations. Nobody believes it was an accident, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I can't argue with that. Fair enough. So you were detained, or you went to prison for a night, two?
Got a couple of nights. Charges were dropped. But it was a nice, the prison in Marin County was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, so it's really kind of fiction and futuristic. But if you ever get there, don't let anybody know you know who the architect is. 'Cause what the hell are you talking about? Frank Lloyd who? Shut up! I got my ass kicked there.
Well, do you have a working relationship or just a?
It's snuff.
So in the tradition of these pranks or public interventions, you know the folks over at SRL?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you
Survival Research Laboratories.
Did you work with them at any point, or you just?
I did stuff with them. I went out with them and like stole stuff out of warehouses and stuff.
And what did that amount to? What did they up to?
It's like going to a warehouse and there's a security guard there, and Mark would say, "Yeah, I'm supposed to come over and take away some of this plywood." And I said, "I haven't heard anything about that." He says, "Do you want me to call your boss? Because I can call your boss." Said, no, that's cool. Come right on in. So this guy would like help us load stuff into a van. What else did you think I did with SRL?
Well, no, I'm trying to keep a catalog of your, or try to create a taxonomy of your pranks, and I just thought maybe you might have participated in some things with them, but maybe wrong.
No, but that's like real life pranks. It's like when you can go and give people, someone a little piece of information that changes the way they perceive things. Like engineer reality.
Did
Telling somebody you're supposed to go in and they don't think you are, and then they let you in and help you take away what they're there to guard. They're being paid to guard this. I mean, if the person's clever enough, they could live their whole life that way. Like Dr. Labuza or Der Spieler. Have you ever seen that?
Are you that character?
No, I wanted to be when I was younger. But it's been got sidetracked with the music.
I want to ask, it's a straight question, but maybe, I just want to hear it. Is Charlie Manson evil?
I don't think so. There was a sociologist named Marcello Truzzi who wrote an essay called Satan is a Fascist. And he said the 20th century trinity of evil is Adolf Hitler, Charlie Manson, and Anton LaVey. So I've known two of the 20th century's trinity of evil, and I didn't find either of them to be real evil per se. I mean, Charlie's obviously misguided. He's actually done horrible stuff. Anton LaVey is just a guy who had heretical ideas. A lot of people disagree with. And he's, presented as evil just for having ideas that go counter to mainstream orthodoxy.
Okay, so what are some of the positions that really got you in trouble? And I am going to lean towards the appropriation of Nazi aesthetic into your own as an artist, as a performer. And how do you feel that functioning, or how do you feel that it is useful to appropriate these signifiers?
Well, I like the fascist aesthetic because it implies order. I'm into order and symmetry. I like militarism because in the military you have a goal you want to attain, you have tactics and strategies, and you attain the goal. Most people I know don't recognize any order in the world, and they don't apply any tactics and strategies to their life. And it's so easy to do. It's like, I know that anything I want to do, I can do it. I can just go after it in an orderly fashion.
And do you find it contradictory in any way in that the Church of Satan tries to develop a sense of individuality and free will within the individual, and the fascination or the fetishizing of a group thing, such as in the army, is really, it really dilutes that completely.
Have you heard of the new slogan, Army of One?
Well, I was getting to that.
Yeah, well, you're using the Church of Satan standards to apply to this, because I really don't buy into the myth of individuality, free will. I've seen very few people who seem individualistic to me. And I don't know how much free will we have. Most people I know are compelled either by their instincts or they're compelled by a lack of instincts, but it seems like they're always compelled to behave a certain way. I know very intelligent people who do very silly things, which the outcome, I would see it, I have foresight. I know if you do this and this, this and this is going to happen. But I know intelligent people get in trouble over and over again for doing things that are obviously going to end up creating problems.
Well, let's keep talking, but let's bring everyone else up to the.
Everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Is that going to be easy?
Well, we'll take a couple minutes to roll this away.